So this video is to demonstrate how to do our next project, which is a fractured still life. And the learning purpose of this is to really practice the beautiful pencil technique that we've been working on. So we've been working on creating a value scale, the ability to sort of create this gray that goes from dark to light with no obvious transitions and even no obvious pencil strokes, which is a bit of an impossible task. You know, you always will see the pencil stroke, but we're really trying to minimize it. So two keys about creating this beautiful gray is good artists know that you'd never start with your darks. Instead, you float in your light gray and you feather it to the white. It's actually the hardest step, is getting this transition from gray to white. And I say you feather it in that you have this open pencil stroke that kind of interweaves gray to white. What I mean, so that you can see it, is it's feathered like this. It's open. Whereas if you shaded this way, it always forms a barrier. So I have this feathered edge. So I can move my paper, whatever is comfortable for my hand. I'm holding my pencil way back, and I'm letting the pencil sort of skim over the surface. I'm doing sort of a tornado pencil technique. And then I can change direction as well. That's how I'm camouflaging my pencil stroke. Going the same direction can sort of create this pleasing pattern, but when we shade, when we start drawing the face, that pleasing pattern becomes a problem. So instead, I really want to have my pencil stroke go different directions and camouflage the other. So I've laid in this gray and I've feathered it out to white. And now I can start to go in and layer in and float in a deeper gray. So now I'm sort of doing this tornado, and I'm sort of pressing hard and lightening up. So again, over here, you can sort of see what I'm doing is I'm sort of working backwards, and when I get to the bottom, I press harder, lighter. And again, I can turn it. And this is really what the artist does. You know, novices, people who don't really know how to draw, are just approach it logically, and they just go from black to white, and they think that should work, but it doesn't. So you really do. You have to start with your gray and feather it to white, and then you have to float your deep grays into that. It's almost like painting. So that's how you get your grays. Now let's take a look at the project. What I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to draw what I call a tabletop still life. Just a still life of objects that you might see on a kitchen counter, on a tabletop, on a restaurant table. And then we're going to fracture it, and then we're going to shade from light to dark in every single shape. So what I've done is, just for the sake of purpose, I gave myself a small sheet of paper, and I'm going to draw some sort of tabletop still life. So maybe I'll lightly sketch the shape of a pear. So again, give myself those simple shapes. Maybe I'll have a bowl that goes off the page. And I'll fill that bowl with some oranges and some apples. Apples tend to be a little more angular than oranges. If you sort of square off the edges. and I don't know, maybe a teacup that's going off the page. Something like that. So here I've got this still life. Now I'm going to fracture it. And all that means to me is I'm going to take a ruler and draw lines through it in just sort of a pleasing way. So I'm going to break it up. I can go from edge to edge, edge to line. There's only one rule that I really think you should obey. And what that rule is you want to avoid having too many lines going through each other. I'll demo on this. Like, you don't want to create these sort of like star patterns. And again, we find that pretty, but when you finish your artwork, it's too intense and you can't look at the rest of the artwork. So don't have all these lines going through each other. Think of it more like sort of evenly broken. So I'm just breaking these up. Now there is a strategy. So I'm going to shade these from light to dark. And the truth is, I find really big shapes hard to do. It's just a hassle to shade from light to dark. And then I find really small shapes hard to do. So you'll kind of find this nice, moderate